Well, welcome everybody, I'm Absurdum, and I want to do another kind of quick tutorial video. One thing I've been getting asked a lot from newer people is how to build a character, what kind of stats to put things into, and things of that such. So I want to talk quickly first about the character page here. So this is a new character I got, just kind of ran around, leveled up a little bit so we can talk about some stats and stuff, but this page here can be very overwhelming. It can be hard, even for me, sometimes to find exactly what it is I'm looking for. But I want to quickly, and I'm going to try to keep this brief, talk about the things I think new players should really know about. Obviously, some of the more straightforward things, damage, weapon damage, things like that, it's a little more straightforward. But some of this other stuff does get a little bit more confusing. So accuracy seems pretty straightforward, and it is. It's your chance to hit something. Right now, my base is 84%. If I use an attack skill, you can see there at the bottom, I have an extra 4% chance to hit if I'm using attack skill on top of this number here. But quickly note that accuracy over 100% reduces the target's dodge chance. That also counts against you. So if you have 10% dodge and they have 110% accuracy, you have 0% dodge. Crit chance here is pretty obvious. What's my chance to crit when doing an attack? What is maybe less obvious to new players is this crit efficiency. This is a coefficient. So it's not like most games where if you crit, you just do twice the amount of damage. You crit and you do an extra, at this point, 34% damage. Counter chance is pretty straightforward. 6% chance that when I'm attacked, I will get a free counter attack. To me, I like to look at counter chance as kind of a free percent increase on damage. That's an extra 6% increase on damage I'll get. Fumble chance. Fumble chance and accuracy are something I think makes the new game really difficult for new people. And if you're trying to learn the game, sometimes I suggest putting things into either perception to increase your accuracy or agility, especially if you're still kind of learning what to do. It's one of the reasons why I suggest getting Seize the Initiative, because Seize the Initiative does attack damage to an enemy, but also increases your accuracy and decreases your fumble chance a significant amount. Bringing this up to 90%, bringing this down to 11% is a lot better. Some interesting things about fumbles, though. If you hit somebody and it fumbles, you do half the damage. Fumbles can also never be crits. And this, once again, goes both ways. So if an enemy attacks you and they fumble, they will never crit. And if you dodge their attack, it becomes a fumble. So dodge chance really is protection against crit as well. And that's something I think is pretty important to learn. Once again, attack skills have a decreased chance to fumble. So that kind of lowers it a little bit too. But other than putting points into here, there's different equipment and gear and stuff that can kind of adjust these numbers for you as well. Cost for things is kind of obvious. Cooldown duration, I think, is also kind of obvious. Another thing I get is, what about things like protection? What about block chance? What about dodge? And different resistances. So going over that a little bit, health restoration is something that I think people don't really typically understand. This is your passive rate of recovery. The higher the number, the more frequently you restore. By default, you replenish 5% per tick, which is kind of what's right here. So when you pick up an item and it has health restoration or health efficiency on it, what does that really mean? So if I remember correctly, this number adds up every turn. When it adds up to 100%, it ticks healing efficiency, which is 5%. It's 105%, but really it's 5% of your max health. So getting these numbers up, getting this means you tick it faster. Getting this number up means each tick you get more. Same with energy and energy restoration. Protection is interesting. It's something they've changed a little bit in the last patch. Now, things in the survival protection are kind of specific to what body part you're talking about. The amount of damage that is blocked by your gear. So if someone hits me for 4 damage, physical damage, in my head, I'll take 2 points because my head has 2 protection. There's other things that can help to kind of mitigate that, but for the most part, that's kind of how it works. Without going into a lot deeper conversation about resistances and things like that, that's the straight and narrow of it. A block chance is pretty straightforward. That's your chance to block. Almost everything has a chance to block, even if you don't have a shield, even if you don't have a weapon that has block chance, you can get block chance from having strength. So you can just use your raw strength to block. Then this is where it gets a little more complicated, but if you want to do like a sword and board shield, or if you want to understand how that works better, you have 2 more stats of block power and block recovery. Block power is how much damage you're going to block if you block. It's reduced when you successfully block and is partially replenished each turn. So if I get hit for 10 damage but I block it, I'll take 1 damage because I blocked 9 of it. And then each turn I'll recover 5% of this block. Now that's obviously not very much, so it will take me well, but you can partially block. So if I were to block again in 3 more turns, I'll block a couple points because that's what I've kind of gotten back. But increasing these is how you get a good effective block build. Dodging is really interesting, as I kind of mentioned before. Being able to dodge is one really good way to protect yourself. Now, if you dodge a regular attack, it becomes a fumble. So you're still going to take damage, but that damage is cut in half and then it goes against your protection then. So it's not you get hit, it goes against your protection, hit for 20, you have 10 protection, you get 10, then half of that's 5. It's the other way around. If you get hit for 20, but it's a fumble, now it's 10, your protection's 10, you take 0 damage. Also, like I said before, you can't be crit. Negative dodge chance increases the accuracy of enemy attacks, so try not to go negative. But once again, this works the other way around. If you got enemies in heavy gear and their dodge chance is negative, well, then you're going to have an increased chance to hit them. Lastly, I want to talk about a couple of these different resistances here because it's something I've been asked about too. Bleed resistance, control resistance, and move resistance, things like this. Which resistances are global and which ones aren't? Because people have been getting mixed answers about this. Bleed resistances are not global. You have different resistances as you see here based on what gear you're wearing. You can see that it kind of rounds it into an even number to give you a general, but my head has 13% more resistance to bleed than my torso only has 11, and so forth, so on. But there are things that will give you global bleed resist. If looking at your inventory, if you have bleed resist on something like a pendant or jewelry or a cape or even a belt, when they say bleed resistance, like my belt right here, that's global. So if I take it off, everything drops by 5. Put it back on, everything goes up by 5, which is much, much better than just regular gear. So that's why when I see things with bleed resistance on jewelry or on a belt or on a cape, I very much favor that because it gives it to my whole body as opposed to just one body part. The last thing I want to talk about is skill points. Another thing I get asked about a lot, and I want to try to fit it in here real quick. What do they do? What do they mean? And what should I be building on different things? Well, it depends. For my two-handed axe guy here, you can kind of see right here under the abilities, modified by strength, agility, perception. Modified by, well, that's passive, but modified by strength, agility, perception, knockback. Okay, but which one of those do I choose? Well, a good indication of what to start putting points in is usually what unlocks in the next tier. So you can see here, strength, perception unlocks this ability, strength, perception, agility for this one, strength, agility, perception again, and strength, agility, perception, which is pretty typical. So honestly, if you're putting it into any of those 3 things, you're probably doing just fine. But another thing you can see here is that when you modify it, you get these numbers. Weapon damage decreased by 19%, 82% chance to bleed, 26% chance armor pin, and grants the ability 101% chance. Now this is something I wish the game would do a lot better job kind of explaining to you. Because yes, all those things up top modify these different numbers, but it doesn't tell you exactly how. So if we see here, we have weapon damage 19%, 82% bleed. We go into point of strength here. Those numbers actually didn't change at all, but they usually do. Maybe we need a bit more. There we go. Went from 83% to 84%. So yeah, okay, it's not a huge chance, but it does actually modify these abilities. And then as we put it down here, now we need less to unlock the rest. So that's one way to gauge, what kind of points. No, maybe vitality is not right for your axe build. It's not saying you can't do it. There's no hard rule on how to build things. But if you're new and you're not really sure what to put points into, there's that. So talking about stats specifically, we have 5 different ones. Strength is one that does multiple things, and if you read it, it really does give a decent idea of telling you how to do. It's your primary combat skill. If you want to do more damage, this is your guy. It also increases your block power and block chance. It also increases the range at which you can throw things. And I don't know why you would, but it improves your unarmed damage. So each strength point gives us 1.5 weapon damage and 1.5 block chance. That's just added on. It also reaches the threshold every 5 levels of body part damage armor damage, and crit efficiency. If you're going to go two-handed axe, which I think is a very decent build for a newbie, I'd go pretty heavily into strength. And then probably something maybe like perception to get increased accuracy, armor pen, plus you can get increased vision, which can help save your life. Not to mention some crit if you want, or even maybe vitality or a little bit of willpower just to try to get fumble chance down. Hands efficiency up, things like that. Typically though, I would only kind of focus on 2 or 3 different stats. Agility influences different things. Now this is mostly for counters, decreasing fumbles, dodge, hands efficiency, and a little bit of move resistance. So agility is going to be your guy for increasing your chance to hit back and your chance to dodge, and decreases your fumble. We already talked a little bit what those do. Perception increases your ability to perceive different things, obviously. Increases your accuracy and increases your armor pen. Reaching thresholds increases your vision, increases your bonus range, which is really great for things like mages and archers, and it increases your crit and miracle chances. Vitality does a couple different things. It also gives you max energy and energy restoration, which we kind of explain what that does, but every 5 levels gives you 15 health, 5% block power recovery, and control resistance. Lastly is willpower. Willpower does a lot of things. It brings down the energy cost for all your abilities and your cooldown duration. Every 5 levels you get more magic power, some pain resistance, and some fortitude. Unless you're going a mage, I probably wouldn't really put points in this, or unless you really know what you're doing. So yeah, if I was going to build this character out more, I'd be putting points into strength, probably a little bit into agility and perception, and maybe vitality, depending how it's going, but probably mostly strength. Getting my axes some extra damage and body part damage is what axes, two-handed axes, are kind of all about. You really want to be doing a lot of damage to people's bodies, affecting their different body part healths, because as they take damage just like you do, they get worse at fighting. So hopefully this answers a little bit of questions. Hopefully it's pretty helpful. If you have more questions about it, ask. I'm always happy to answer. Come by the Discord. It's in the description below. You can ask anybody there as well. I love this game, and I love talking about it. If you have more questions about different topics, let me know. Leave a comment. I'll try to do a video on it. I want to thank everyone for taking time to watch this video. Hope this is helpful for you. Please take care of yourself, stay safe, and hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.